Hi there, I'm Greg. I just turned 70 last month, and today's one of those fine summer mornings that makes you glad to be alive. I carried my breakfast tray out onto the patio, coffee, toast, the works, and sat down to soak in a little sunshine. I was just settling in when it hit me how different these quiet mornings feel now. Not worse, just different. And it got me thinking about something that still surprises me at my age. How my energy has this sneaky way of slipping through my fingers. You'd think after all these years, I'd have learned to manage my energy better. But no, sometimes it still catches me completely off guard. Like last week, for instance, I promised my daughter I'd help her rearrange some furniture. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, halfway through moving a couch and a few chairs, I was wiped out, completely drained, sitting on the stairs trying to catch my breath. I remember thinking, how is this possible? I used to do this stuff all the time with no problem. That moment was a sharp reminder. Stamina doesn't work like it used to. Back in my 40s or 50s, I could go all day without breaking a sweat. Now, my body has a different rhythm, and it's not always in sync with my mind's plans. That's a tough pill to swallow. It's not just about physical energy either. Sometimes, the little things drain me in ways I don't expect. A long phone call with a worried friend, or a day filled with one too many interruptions, can leave me feeling like I've run a marathon. And here's the kicker. I'm learning that it's okay to say no, to step back, to protect my energy like the precious thing it is. I used to feel guilty about that. I'd push myself to keep up, worried I'd seem weak or less capable. But now, I see it differently. Guarding my energy isn't selfish, it's survival. It's the key to staying present, to enjoying the things that really matter. One afternoon, I decided to test this new wisdom. My neighbor invited me to a community meeting, and I knew it was going to be a long haul. Lots of talking, standing, and not much rest. My old self would have said yes without a second thought. But this time, I politely declined. And you know what? I felt no guilt. Instead, I spent that afternoon reading a good book and took a long walk at sunset. That quiet time did more for me than any meeting could. But don't get me wrong, managing energy isn't just about sitting out events or avoiding commitments. It's also about pacing yourself when you're in the thick of things. Like when I go to the grocery store these days, I make a list, map my route through the aisles, and give myself breaks between trips with the cart. I even take a moment outside if the store feels overwhelming. It sounds simple, but these little tricks add up. I'll be honest, some days still surprise me. Like the time I forgot where I put my keys, spent 20 minutes hunting for them, only to realize they were in my coat pocket all along. It was frustrating, but more than that, it was a reminder that my brain's energy works the same way my body's does. It can get tired and distracted. All these moments add up to one clear lesson. Energy is not infinite, and it's worth protecting fiercely. I've had to become a better listener to my body and mind. When my legs feel tired, I sit down. When my head feels foggy, I rest. And when my heart feels overwhelmed, I reach out to someone I trust. I know it's easy to feel like slowing down means giving up, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Learning to respect my energy has given me a new kind of freedom, the freedom to enjoy my days fully without burning out. So, if you're like me and find yourself surprised by how your energy comes and goes, you're not alone. We might not move as fast or last as long as we used to, but we've got the wisdom to choose where that energy goes. And that, I think, is something to be proud of. You know, if energy was the first surprise, the second thing that still catches me off guard is how sharply my patience wears thin sometimes. It's funny, isn't it? I thought getting older would automatically make me more patient, like a wise old sage calmly weathering any storm, right? But nope. Sometimes, I catch myself snapping at small stuff. Like when the slow driver cuts me off, or when the Wi-Fi decides to take a vacation right in the middle of a family Zoom call. I used to pride myself on keeping my cool, but these days, the little irritations feel louder, sharper, and more persistent. At first, I blamed it on stress or just getting old. But after a bit of reflection, I realized it wasn't age itself. It was how I was letting stress and frustration pile up without giving myself space to reset. Patience doesn't show up on its own. You've got to invite it in, seat it at the table, and keep reminding it to stay. So, what's my secret for handling those moments? It's surprisingly simple but takes a bit of discipline. I give myself permission to pause. When I feel that irritation bubbling up, I take a slow breath, maybe count to 10, or sometimes 20, and remind myself that the world isn't rushing just to bother me. This little mental break has saved me from more arguments, headaches, and sleepless nights than I can count. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because patience isn't just about the outside world. It's about being patient with myself, too. Those moments when I forget a name, or can't remember if I took my vitamins, or accidentally send a text with autocorrect gone rogue. Those moments can be frustrating, but beating myself up only adds fuel to the fire. Instead, I try to treat myself like I'd treat a good friend, with kindness, understanding, and a bit of humor. One day, I caught myself laughing out loud when my phone auto-corrected dinner to dinosaur. I mean, really, dinosaur for dinner? What am I, a Flintstone? It cracked me up. And in that moment, I realized, if autocorrect is going to turn my meal plan into a prehistoric buffet, the least I can do is laugh. These little tech hiccups, these blips of ridiculousness, they're not mistakes, they're free comedy. And honestly, it's those unexpected laughs that help carry us through the heavier days. But patience has another angle that surprised me. It's about accepting that some things just take longer now. Whether it's healing from a cold, learning a new gadget, or finishing a project around the house, my timeline isn't what it used to be. I've learned to embrace that pace instead of fighting it. Slowing down doesn't mean falling behind. Sometimes, it means doing things better, with more care. Of course, none of this is easy. Old habits die hard, and it's tempting to slip back into frustration or self-criticism. But the payoff is real. More peace of mind, less tension in my shoulders, and an overall lighter feeling in my day. Now, the third thing that keeps surprising me, and maybe the trickiest of all, is how deeply the need for connection remains. I always thought that after a certain age, people just settle into their routines and get comfortable with solitude. While there's a certain comfort in quiet moments, I've discovered that meaningful connections still catch me off guard with their power, whether it's a deep conversation with an old friend, a spontaneous call from a family member, or even a brief chat with a neighbor. Sometimes I underestimate how much these moments recharge me emotionally, and how they remind me that I'm part of something bigger than myself. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget that relationships, new and old, are vital for our happiness and health. There was a day not long ago when I was feeling a bit down and isolated, and out of the blue, my granddaughter called. We talked for nearly an hour about everything and nothing, and it lifted my spirits more than I expected. That call was a reminder that connection isn't just about company. It's about feeling seen and valued. So, I've started making more of an effort to nurture these connections. Sometimes it means picking up the phone, sometimes it's a handwritten note, or inviting someone over for a cup of tea. These small acts of reaching out have added a surprising richness to my days. What's fascinating is how these connections help balance the other two things I mentioned, energy and patience. When I'm tired or on edge, a kind word or shared laugh can be the reset button I need. The unexpected nature of these three things, energy shifts, patience challenges, and the hunger for connection, reminds me that growing older isn't just about what we lose. It's about discovering new rhythms, new ways to care for ourselves, and new reasons to be grateful. What I didn't expect, maybe the most surprising thing of all, is how life at this age still has the ability to delight me in completely unexpected ways. I used to think that after 70, most of the big discoveries were behind me. I had my routines, my stories, my familiar routes to the store. But lately, I've noticed how the smallest shift in my day, a new walking trail, a different type of bread at the bakery, a stranger's warm smile, can light something up in me I didn't even realize was dimmed. I was walking last week and passed a house I've seen 1,000 times. But this time, I noticed the windowsill, lined with hand-painted flower pots, each one more eccentric than the last. Polka dots, checkerboards, even one with what looked like googly eyes. And I just stood there and grinned. It made me think, someone out there is still playing, still having fun. And that gave me permission to loosen up a little more. Because here's the truth, joy looks different now. It's quieter, gentler, less tied to outcomes, and more rooted in the act of being present. And you know what? That suits me just fine. I don't need to win the race anymore. I just want to enjoy the walk. I've also surprised myself with how much I still want to try new things. I always thought curiosity belonged to the young, but it turns out it just changes flavor. Speaking of flavor, like last month, I decided I was finally going to try a proper curry. Now, I know that might not sound like a big deal, but you've got to understand, I grew up in a meat and two veg household. Spices scared us. If it wasn't salt or pepper, we assumed it was dangerous. But something in me just said, why not? So I walked into this tiny local spot everyone raves about, took a deep breath, and ordered a chicken vindaloo. And let me tell you, I was sweating like I ran a marathon, but I loved it. It was bold, it was messy, it was unfamiliar, and it made me feel alive in a way I didn't expect. What struck me wasn't just the taste, it was the thrill of doing something new. At 70, who knew a plate of curry could remind you that you're still very much here? That your taste buds aren't done learning? That maybe your comfort zone is just a little too comfortable? Trying that curry opened up something in me. Not just a tolerance for spice, but a kind of quiet bravery. The same bravery it takes to walk into a new bookstore, or change the route you take on your morning walk, or wear that shirt you weren't quite sure about because it felt a little too bold, but you wore it anyway. Sometimes, we think trying new things means big gestures or dramatic overhauls. But more often, it's the tiny rebellions, switching up your routine, dancing in the kitchen to a song you haven't heard in years, or saying yes to an invitation when every part of you wanted to say no. These moments matter. And look, no one hands you a permission slip at 65 saying, go forth and reinvent. You've got to write that slip yourself. You've got to give yourself room to explore again, even if the world around you thinks the only thing left is routine. I've come to love the idea that change doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's just spicy and slightly terrifying, like a curry that dares you to take another bite. It's those quiet moments of courage that shape us more than any grand gesture ever could. The real magic? It happens when we lean into discomfort just enough to stretch, but not so far that we snap like dry spaghetti. Been there. It's like seasoning a meal. Too little, and it's bland. Too much, and it'll have you sprinting for milk. Finding that perfect balance. That's where life's richest flavors hide. Let's walk this journey together, with humor, courage, and just enough spice to keep things interesting. If this message spoke to something in your spirit today, even a small, quiet part of it, hey, why not hit that subscribe button? I share stories like this every week and look forward to seeing you in the next one.